listening to theoutdoorstation.co.uk.
Hi everybody and welcome to the Podzine, dated the 24th of December 2007, which means it's Christmas!
It's a podcast, it's a magazine. No, it's a podzine.
Hello and welcome to another Podzine, and would you believe it is the Christmas Eve? The Christmas Eve? Yes, it is Christmas Eve. Well, it's sort of Christmas Eve because obviously this has been recorded slightly before the release of the programme, and it's the weekend before Christmas, and it's all quiet on the hills. And I've decided to come out with me old mucker, me old mate, me old chum from podcasting fraternity, Andy Howell, and here we are yomping across the Malvern Hills at the weekend before Christmas. And how are you feeling, Andy? It's a bit sharp today, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit sharp, Bob, and that's not been helped by the 2 pints of excellent real ale we've just downed in the pub. It's now about 4:30. It's getting bloody dark and there's not a soul out here, so it's wonderful.
Now, I wasn't going to mention the beer, but Andy's...
You weren't going to mention the beer. I thought I'd better.
He's leapt in straight away with the beer, because we're part of this podcast. Hopefully we're going to go and visit the pub of the year, the Nag's Head. We'll do that.
More beer. That's okay.
Yeah,
we'll
beer.
do that
yes,
tomorrow.
We'll do that tomorrow. And get the girls to share their thoughts on that. Rose and Kate are going to be joining us and seeing if the pub of the year is in fact worthy of its title. But we thought, as we were wandering along the hills this evening, I'll say this afternoon, but it's getting dark very rapidly, have a quick review, really. It's been a bit of a strange year, sort of weather-wise and outdoor-wise, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. We had a kind of great start to the year, didn't we? Spring was good, and the TGO Challenge, although we had some, a bit of bad weather, it was pretty good. And then, of course, just when we thought we were going to settle into a wonderful year of walking courtesy of global warming, the unpredictability of global warming hit us, and we had the most abominable summer. So, I don't know, like a lot of people, I guess, that I did my 2 weeks TGO challenge, and I hope to do at least another 2-week trip, maybe a few more in the year. And actually, what I've done is lots and lots of overnighters and lots of short weekends. But the kind of summer never happened, did it? Really?
No, it's sort of it has been a fairly poor year, and I'm sure everybody will agree with that. Certainly, speaking to other retailers, they all seem to agree that July and August didn't quite happen, and the combination of the interest rates and the threat of foot and mouth hitting us again, and general sort of depression in the country, I think everybody decided to give up the ghost and go to warmer climes for the summer. So the summer season didn't really happen, and here we are now at Christmas time, and I've just read the headlines of the paper in the pub there, and it was saying that everybody's now slashing the prices to half price and whatever to try and get rid of some of the stock and keep going. So in all fairness, it hasn't been the best of years from a retail point of view as well as from an active point of view. Not too sure how the holiday season's been.
Yeah, I think it's a shame, because I think it was going to be quite an interesting year. I was talking to Leslie Williams at Cicerone early on in the year, and she was saying to me that that they thought they were just on the verge of a kind of quite significant market shift, that they could see how the whole global warming thing was beginning to affect people's patterns, and that they expected that they'd be selling more and more guidebooks that were within easy reach of the UK, if not based in the UK, and that trend seemed to be replicated across some of the big book chains, and that maybe if this had been a good summer in the UK, you'd have really seen that in retail trends. And I think that is quite interesting. I think people are much more interested in the UK than they've been for a while now, and I mean, certainly Scotland has seems to have improved in popularity, but it's a shame really that the outdoor industry is kind of booming and almost becoming mature, and then we have one bad summer like this, and I think a lot of people must have been expecting a bumpy year this year, and it hasn't quite happened.
I think that's definitely the case. Certainly many people I've been speaking to would agree with that ethos, that they've chosen to keep their carbon footprint as small as they can and not travel too far, but sadly they were disappointed by the weather conditions when they got there. Anyway, let's hope that next year proves to be better. It would appear that the Americans have signed something that agrees that they're going to start cutting down on their carbon emissions, which will be a help in that direction. But what about the year itself as regards gear? There's been nothing really new that seems to have been launched this year that's taken anybody by storm at all. There's a lot of consolidation of various bits of equipment, certainly lightweight equipment that seems to have come through. But this time last year we had the Petzl light, the E-light come through. There was a few other items that came through as well, but really I don't think I've seen anything astounding this year that's taking anybody's imagination. Have you?
No, Chris Townsend was saying that, wasn't he, last week? And I think he's right, that I think we're going to see a consolidation here. I mean, I can certainly see it through my own kit. You know, having spent 2 years reducing weight and buying more innovative stuff, you begin to wonder where you can go anymore, which is kind of a bit of relief for the bank manager. But I bought a few bits and pieces from the States this year, and for me it's been the year of the top, really. And maybe because I've been doing more overnighters and short nights, but I've got my Spinnaker top, which we featured quite heavily in the Pembrokeshire podcast, has been well used, and yeah, there hasn't really been a big breakthrough with it. I mean, companies like Innovate have been diversifying their range, as they always do, as they gain consumer acceptance, and we've seen a few new packs and Go Light introducing shoes, but nothing revolutionary really this year.
So perhaps it's time to say, okay, well our gear cupboard is full.
Well, do you know what I think? The big story next year is actually going to be walking itself.
Well, I was about to come on to that, because I was just saying that we've given the TGO Challenge its fair amount of support and publicity the last couple of years, what with diaries and podcasts and blogs and whatever else. Perhaps we should look at going further afield.
Well, I think so. I mean, we both missed the cut this year, and one of the things about the TGO Challenge is that they like to keep it fresh, which is a good thing with new applicants, and they've had a bumper number of applicants this year, which I suppose is partly our fault. And anyway,
a bit of a compliment, really.
Yeah, we both missed the cut, but you know, it just means that you just have to look at all the other walking in the world. I mean, one of the difficult things about TGO is that it takes 2 weeks out of your life, and you know, for some people who've got flexible work patterns, it's not too bad, but you know, it's difficult. So Kate and I were going to try and do 2 weeks in the Pyrenees this summer, and we couldn't do it in the end. So but I think next year, I think maybe if there is a bit of a lull in the gear range, as Chris was suggesting, perhaps we need to concentrate much more on walking destinations. And so maybe we should, you know, plan something exciting as an alternative to TGO, and give it the Bob and Andy podcast treatment.
Yes, indeed. So we've given Scotland a fair amount of promotion. Let's look at other places. But I think we all share the same passion, the same enjoyment and appreciation of the wilder places, and I think you've probably had a fair good run this year. Tell me about some of your wild highlights, as it were.
Well, I think wild places in the UK is kind of topical at the moment. In Robert McFarlane's book, which I reviewed a couple of podzines ago, isn't really about wilderness so much, but it's about the remaining wild places in the UK, and it makes you think that actually there's still an awful lot to look at and do. So, you know, in the last 12 months, the things that have made a big impact on me were, first of all, a longer start to the TGO, starting in Strathcowan and spending a bit more time in the wilderness areas of northwest Scotland, which was just stunning. So anybody planning their TGO route now, you know, Strathcowan is a great start, and you know, if you can try and prolong the amount of time you're in those northwest Highlands before you know, hit the Great Glen, then you know, you won't be disappointed. But the other thing that I did this year, which was just stunning, was a week I spent in West Cork in Ireland, and you know, I've walked in Ireland before, and I've always found it very challenging walking, because there's not a tradition of hill walking there really, so you spend a lot of time climbing over barbed wire fences. But West Cork was just absolutely beautiful and mind-blowing, and although it wasn't a walking holiday I was doing, you know, 3 or 4 days really good walking with high hills, quite rugged, not a soul on them anywhere, wonderful off-lying islands, beautiful weather, fun enough, lots of Polish plumbers everywhere. But you know, I mean, it was that was a bit of a revelation, really, and certainly as a kind of occasional walking destination or as a cycling walking holiday, West Cork and the west coast of Ireland is superb. Paddy Dillon told me it would be. I rang him up and said, "Hey, where shall I go walking?" And he said it would be fantastic, and it certainly was.
There's been quite a few people that have contacted me as well on the cycle camping fraternity, which is interesting that there does seem to be, as you know, common sense would dictate really, if you're into walking, generally you're into other forms of outdoor pleasure activity. And I'm surprised actually at the size of cycle campers. But once again, it's got to be the carbon footprint and so on. But it's interesting the amount of them now that want to take that extra step and go towards using a tarp rather than the tents, and using the bike as part of the support system, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, well, it's not surprising really. I mean, we do have this fantastic cycle network, Sustrans network, around the country now, which is, you know, I don't think we've quite realised just what's been created. It's been actually one of the great creations of the lottery, I think. And, you know, I mean, it's very easy to find yourself around. But what I've always wanted to do, and I've not done it yet, maybe next year, is to combine a cycling holiday with a walking holiday. You know, these days, basically you're taking the same kit on your bike, your same camping kit. We're walking in trail shoes, so that's easy as well, cycling those. And you know, I think maybe that whole cycling walking combined holiday thing is going to take off in a big way as well.
Well, I've enjoyed listening to Simon Willis's kayak podcasts, and we had a bit of a taster course this year on doing some kayaks, some sea kayaks with Rose and one of my daughters, and it was a really enjoyable experience, and it's certainly one I can see you could easily get hooked on. And that's something I quite fancy. And I've always liked the idea of trying to organise something like canoeing, going over to France, and then canoeing down one of the rivers, as it were. But it actually, the logistics of organising the transportation to do that seems to be quite difficult. But certainly a combination of sort of camping and then you know, camping and sort of recognised camping spots, and then canoeing or kayaking down rivers appeals as much as cycling.
Well, there's a challenge. I mean, we've got listeners I know who run outdoor adventure businesses in the Pyrenees and elsewhere in central France. So there's a challenge for you. If you're listening to this, get in touch with us, and you know, let's see if we can create something special. Because I do think that we're looking for different. The thing that really impressed me about kayaking, I mean, this shows how fickle I am, is the notion that you can put a 70-litre pack in your kayak and stuff it full of wine, and you know, quite happily trundle off. I'd have thought actually it's made for the Alan Slomans of this world. I mean, he could have an absolute ball kayaking. But maybe the kayaking, the cycling, the combination of things, maybe that's actually one of the big moves that we're going to see in the outdoor world.
Well, I think there's bound to be a merge, and in fact, following one of the podcasts we did not so long back, various people in the bushcraft community have invited us out for a weekend come springtime.
Yes, that's going to be exciting, isn't it?
So bring your woggle.
Yeah, well, I certainly shall. Dip. I don't know if they still do that, actually, but there you go.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's going to be quite exciting. We've been invited to go on a bushcraft weekend, I think mainly because they listened to our pathetic attempts to live off the land in Pembrokeshire, and they thought these two need some help. But that's going to be quite good fun. I would imagine that's going to be a very popular download.
And that's the purpose really of these podcasts. It's just to open people's eyes and ears to other alternatives. It's very easy to get trapped in an office these days, very easy to get trapped in your car as you're commuting, and not actually get out and enjoy the world that's around you. And certainly we're very, very lucky in this country in the sense that we've got reasonable access to most areas of the country fairly easily, once you get away from the suburbia, and we've got a lot to enjoy. So there are a lot of people worth exploring, and certainly a bit of time spent on the internet is time well spent to research any particular subject matter.
Yeah, one of the things that's really struck home to me in the last 12 months, maybe just because I've been thinking about it more, is just how valuable the outdoor economy is to some of our rural places. And you know, maybe if I can get some interviews this year with some of the people who run their businesses on the basis of the outdoors. But look at places like Snowdonia, Yorkshire. I was talking recently to the chief executive of Hadrian's Wall, who was telling me just how important that's been as a development. And lots of people doing little stretches of it, but they want to push on the next way and encourage people to do the whole trail. And that's quite a new trail, as is the Great Glenway in Scotland. And yet loads of people I know are saying to me, we want to do that trail, we want to do that walk. The other thing that I discovered this year, which has been quite a lesson for me, I think, was visiting my new friends in the Stockport walking group. And they invited me to go up and do an evening with them, talking about the TGO Challenge, and we had a great time with Colin and his mates there. They all listen to the Podzine, so I know that. And there was me showing my photographs of wonderful wild campsites and things like that. And then you realise this is an ordinary walking group. They don't do much wild camping. And that suddenly made me realise that actually there's a whole band of people out there who must listen to this stuff and think, well, maybe we should try that this day. So, given they're due in Stockport, they've decided next year they're going to do rather than just go to the Alps or something like that, which they tend to do, they're going to do a trip to Scotland, and they're going to go wild camping. And I'm hoping to do some podcast coverage of that.
Go with them, yeah.
Because... it sounds exciting, it sounds daring, and of course it's a wonderful experience, but I think we sometimes forget that actually most walkers have never savoured it, and maybe next year we should encourage people to, just take that little step further.
Well, on that note, we're just getting back down to suburbia ourselves now from the hills, so we'll call a halt to this and pick up a bit later on. But I think that's very much the case. I think our objective and ethos and New Year's resolution should be for the outdoor station is to get out and try as many different things as possible and give people a fair promotion. I think there's a lot of people working very, very hard on a very tight budget to promote their activities. We want to be able to support them and encourage listeners and everybody else really to make the most of our wonderful surroundings.
And I think, generally we want to broaden our own surroundings, don't we? So rather like the bushcraft guy who's been in touch with us, let us know of different ideas. If you can think of a new way of putting together an exciting outdoor holiday, perhaps combining 2 or 3 of these different disciplines, then get in touch with us, because we're quite interested in promoting all aspects of the outdoor world.
Definitely, and the email address is info@theoutdoorstation.co.uk. Okay, more later.
Well, day 2 of the Outdoor Station Christmas
Yomp,
and we're back out on the hills, and what a difference 24 hours can make.
Yeah, beautiful sunny day, blue sky, very, very sharp wind still fairly cold up here. Little clumps of frost and stuff and ice gathered on certain parts of the hills, but it's been an enjoyable few hours.
Yeah, it's not an excursion, but it just shows you, even just a couple of hours ambling over the hill before a pint at lunchtime, weather like this, absolutely perfect.
Well, we've done a few miles now across the hills, and we're actually on the top of North Hill on the Malvern Hills, which is the northerly most point on the hills there. And of course, just down from here is the Nag's Head, the pub where I interviewed the manageress a few weeks back, has won the award as the best town pub. And certainly she was saying just how much they welcomed walkers. So we'll have to call in and perhaps down 1 or 2 and see what the atmosphere's like.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking forward to launching our new award scheme. The Outdoor Station walking pole. Is it worth 3 walking poles or 4 walking poles?
I think that's obviously depends on what time we stagger out of it. So we're going to catch.
We might need those poles. Yeah.
Yes. Can we have the poles back, please? Well, we're going to catch the girls up now and go down to the pub, and then we'll join you shortly. So we've made our way down from the North Hill now. We're now in the Nag's Head, the award-winning pub in Malvern, and it's a lovely atmosphere. And I just sort of ask Rose and Kate exactly their thoughts. Kate, you enjoy the atmosphere in here?
Yeah, it's great. We're sitting by a roaring fire. It's a really warm, welcoming atmosphere to come in from the slightly bitter wind that's out there and the chilly day that it is. So it's great to just come in and toast ourselves by this lovely fire and have a nice beer and generally enjoy the ambience.
What do you think, Rose? You're sitting right in front of the roaring
Yeah,
fire.
it's lovely actually. It's Christmas decorations are up, and there's a whole mix of people, from toddlers and people with the dogs walking, and chaps just sitting reading the papers, to young folk. It's a real nice mixture of people here, so it's lovely.
Well, I'm drinking a nice pint of Hook Norton, but Andy's actually gone to the dangerous juice.
Yeah, there's a lovely pint of Worcestershire cider here, which is, I don't think I could down a second one of these. I think I'd be asleep all evening, but it's fantastic, isn't it? There's a lovely smell in here. There's no smoke, but there's a kind of lovely resinous smell from the fire. You can kind of smell the real ale and the hops, and it's fantastic. You don't see many places like this. You don't smell many places like this.
No, it's a lovely atmosphere. Certainly, they run a tight ship here, and it's you can see why it wins the awards that it does. And I think it's probably only fair, really, that we should. This is an appropriate end to the year in many respects of these series of podcasts that we've done, and so on. We've all had our various experiences. Kate, how did the challenge for you compare to your trips to the Pyrenees?
Oh, the challenge was different in many ways. For one thing, it was longer continuous days of walking than we do, generally speaking, when we've been in the Pyrenees. 2 whole weeks of walking. So that in itself makes it different. And the landscape and the terrain's very different. It's a different kind of drama. It also changes so much more. The Pyrenees has a kind of constancy about it, but one of the fantastic things about the challenge is the way in which the scenery and the landscape changes as you walk across the country and you go through the different types of terrain. So it is different. And it was certainly very rewarding, and one of the things I'll look back most fondly on 2007.
The social aspect is an unusual thing, as we've been talking about today, to actually get your head round as regards the challenge, because you sort of start off the first sort of time you do it, and you really do treat it as a challenge for yourself, but very, very quickly it starts to dawn on you that actually there's more to it, that the ethos of it is more than actually just being a personal challenge, isn't it?
Yes, it did take me a while to realise that, and to get out of my own head and realise that actually this was a shared experience, and that's part of the value of it, that there are 300 people, all of whom are having the experiences of the highs and the lows, and that's something. One of the wonderful things is it's very bonding, because you can compare notes, and it's not competitive in that way. It's just a shared joy, really, and it has its moments when things didn't go so well, and they're worth sharing as well. So once you realise that that's something to communicate and to enjoy talking about, then you start to relax and enjoy that side of the challenge, which I think is the bit of it that makes it really special.
Yeah, and it's very hard to get over to people sometimes as well, really, the pleasure in that. Rose, I mean, you sadly you had to come back after the first week, but you enjoyed the first week?
Yeah, it was fabulous. I wish I could have done the second week as well, but circumstances didn't allow us. It just seems a long time ago now.
Yeah, well, the summer didn't quite really happen,
No,
did
it didn't.
No?
It was a bit dismal, and hopefully look forward to a brighter new year.
Yeah, you fancy doing something a bit different next year?
Yeah, I think we could certainly look to do something else next year.
Excellent. So I think that only brings us to the conclusion, and really should wish all our listeners a very happy and safe and enjoyable Christmas time, and a very happy and healthy 2008. And I think all we can do is raise our glasses to everybody and say cheers.
Cheers.
And cheers indeed once again from Andy and Kate and Rose and myself, and thank you all our listeners and supporters of the Outdoor Station, the UK's most prolific free podcasting service to inspire outdoors folk everywhere, no matter your interest. In particular, I must thank the many guests and interviewees who have supported us during 2007, and I hope we'll catch up with your activities again very soon. Now, in all honesty, producing this weekly show has been a real labour of love, an immense draw on time. So we're going to be taking a break from doing that for a couple of months while we research some more content. Although, of course, we'll still be producing and continuing with our very popular feature interviews and special shows, so there'll still be plenty to listen to. Which means this is the very last of our very popular competitions, which, as you may recall, was to win 200 assorted drinks, free drinks, courtesy of us and Drink Pack, who are part of Drink Master. Now, the question was to name the webcam on the Drinks Master website. And the 50 or so of you did have the right answer, and the right answer is, of course, Lamb Cam.
So once again, we press the randomizer button and the computer will tell us the first name out of the electronic hat. And the winner is Vanessa Cox, who has given me the answer to the question and no other details. Come on, Vanessa, drop me an email, tell me who you are, and we'll get those packs shipped off to you so you can have 200 drinkies free every time you go out in the hills next year. So, congratulations to you, and that pretty well brings the Christmas Eve special show to a close. Thanks again for listening, and I really mean that sincerely, and I do thank you very much indeed for your support. I hope you have an enjoyable break, and Rose and I wish you good fortune, good health, and great happiness for 2008. And if we could do it with one wish, world peace would be nice. Merry Christmas, everyone.
This independent programme has been brought to you by The Outdoors Station, the exciting new way to see and hear free information about the outdoors world. If you're a blogger, or if you have a website, you can now incorporate any of these podcasts directly to your site, completely free. Visit our website, theoutdoorstation.co.uk, for more information.